Hey everyone, this is a short video on section 2.10, market failure, and specifically now about asymmetric information. Now, if we have a good grasp of English words, we know that asymmetry is when two sides are not equal, they're not symmetric. In economics, asymmetric information occurs when buyers and sellers have unequal access to information, usually resulting in an underallocation of resources towards a good or service. To get our heads around this, we'll look at the classic example of asymmetric information, which is the used car market. So there are two types of cars in the used car market. One is a lemon. It has problems that aren't immediately apparent to the buyer. If buyers knew of its problems, they would probably only be willing to pay, say, $10,000, right? The other type of car is a peach. It's a nice car. It's a good car. A buyer would be happy to pay $20,000. What's crucial to understand here is that it's really only the seller who knows whether this car is a peach or a lemon. That's important. Now, given what we have just seen here, if we assume a 50-50 chance of a used car being a lemon, how much would a buyer be willing to pay? So 50-50 chance of it being a peach or a lemon. A rational person would be willing to spend $15,000, right? Would be the average of the two values. They want some insurance against the risk that the car that they're buying is a lemon. So they're taking on risk that they're buying a lemon worth only $10,000, so they're not willing to pay the whole 20. If you were the seller, if you know that you're selling a peach, how much should you want to sell for? Right? This should be easy. You want to sell for $20,000. It's a peach. That's what it is worth. Therefore, we reach the logical conclusion, or theoretical, that 0 peaches would get sold. So there would be an underallocation of peaches, good cars, in the used car market. This is a problem of adverse selection, as what we see is only the seller who is selling lemons selecting themselves to be involved in that used car market. So as a buyer, you would think there's only going to be lemons in this market. This selection has adverse effects as it leads to an underallocation of peaches in the market. So an underallocation of good cars. Now, I'm using these terms, they sound a bit weird, but this is actually research that won a Nobel Prize in, I think it was the 1970s, about the used car market, this theoretical thing, and he used the terms lemons and peaches to describe it. Okay, let's look at some other examples of adverse selection where the sellers have more information than the buyers. So, good one is a job interview. The person selling their labor, they know what sort of worker they are. They know if they're hardworking, they know if they're ethical, they know how diligent they are, what experience they really have as opposed to what they say they have. There's examples from the food industry. A restaurant owner knows the quality of their food. They know if it tastes good. They know if it's how hygienic it is. And likewise, food producers, they know what is in their product, exactly what is going in this can. The market for services also shows adverse selection potential. A person hiring a lawyer or electrician is in an absolutely free market doesn't really know the quality of the service they are getting. Now, again, for any of these examples, the buyer may be tempted to not purchase given the risk that they are taking. This would result in an underallocation of resources. So the person not being hired, the restaurant not being attended by people. Exactly. Okay. We know governments intervene to reduce market failure. So let's look at some of the things that the government might do to stop this market failure occurring. They want this economic activity to happen. People are better off if they do these things. So what they can do is there are laws giving a right to a refund if a good is not fit for purpose. So think of a product that breaks as soon as you leave the store. They can require the seller to provide information to the buyer to lessen the asymmetry of information. So think of food labels or the kilojoule listings that are at fast food restaurants. Some goods have to meet certain quality standards. You might remember I've spoken before about the ladder standard. Every ladder has to meet an Australian standard. So this gives the buyer assurance that the good is of quality, right? So they're going to feel happy to buy it. They're not going to be taking on too much risk. Some of the restaurant asymmetry is lessened by the existence of inspectors who can shut down an unhygienic kitchen, for example. And also licenses for professions. They give an assurance of quality as a certain level of education is required. So you have to have a law degree to be a lawyer. You have to pass the bar exam to practice law. That sort of thing. Now, there are also private, and by private we mean non-government responses. Oh, whoops, there's a problem with my animation. Private methods. So how do they fix the information asymmetry? So what is going on? There we go. Screening. That refers to methods used by buyers to increase their information. With no government assurance of quality, they can look to online reviews or reviews from friends and family. These are the Google reviews for my local pizza place, and that rating of 4.7. Yeah, that's pretty accurate. So you feel less concerned that you're taking a risk when you buy this pizza because you've seen that other people say it's good. This is why employers ask for references from their job candidates. They've heard what the candidate has said about themselves, but they want to ask someone else who knows them, wait, is this actually true? Is this guy as good as he says he is? That's why they do it, to lessen that information asymmetry and feel like they're taking less of a risk. Okay, sellers will also do signaling to convey the quality. So think of infomercials with their money back guarantees. It's reasonable to think that if they're happy to give your money back if you don't like it, that it must be a good product, right? A car seller may use a fancy showroom like this. This signals their success, which presumably would not have come if they were selling lemons, right? Okay, we'll also look at the case where buyers have more information than the sellers. The insurance market is the best example of this. Now, who gets the most value from insurance? Think health insurance or car insurance. Well, it's going to be the people who need it, the less healthy, the risk takers, those in high crime neighborhoods. The adverse selection here is that more buyers of insurance are the ones who are costly to insure. So they feel like they're going to use it. They feel like they're going to need the insurance. That's why they're more likely to buy it. And what this does, of course, is it increases the cost because this insurance company is always having to pay out to all these people to all these unhealthy people or risky people who are buying their insurance. This makes them have to raise the price of it, which dissuades, let's say, the healthy people from buying the insurance, right? Many people are going to choose not to buy because it's too expensive and they don't feel like anything bad is actually going to happen to them. They're low risk. And so ultimately there is an under-allocation of resources towards insurance. What can the government do about this? The government response to health insurance is the problem of health insurance becoming too expensive and people not buying it is that they can provide healthcare themselves. So this is what we do in Australia to a large extent. We have Medicare, so a lot of healthcare is paid for by the government. This, of course, comes at a huge cost, which is a downside to it. And this is why the debate sort of rages about how much the government should be involved. Okay, private responses. Well, there are two parts to buying insurance. You've got the price of buying the insurance plan, which we call the premium here in Australia. So, and then you've also got the price to make a claim, which we call an excess. So let's say you crash a car. The insurance company doesn't just give you money. You've got to pay in excess, say like $600 or something, right? So what private people can do is they can sort of assess their own risk to an extent. So if you think that nothing bad is going to happen to you, you'll choose a plan that has a low premium and a high excess, because you don't think you're going to pay that excess. So you want to save money on the premium. If you think you are more likely to make a claim, you might choose a policy with a high premium but a low excess. So whenever you need, you're going to make a lot of claims, so you don't want to pay much then, right? That sounds good, like that will solve the problem. But one problem with this is that insurance companies may just choose to not insure high risk people, and that can lead to the under allocation, of course. Okay, then we have moral hazard. So moral hazard is a situation where one party takes risks because they do not bear the full costs of their actions. So insurance is a good case of this. So buyers of car theft insurance, what they might do is they might be a little more careless about how they protect their car. They might leave the keys in it. They might not lock it at night. They might leave their keys in an obvious spot because they know that if it gets stolen, they're just going to get a new car, right? They got to pay $1,000, whatever that the excess, but then they get a new car, so they're okay. So they take risks that they wouldn't otherwise take, is what happens. Okay, and banks also do this. Banks are so crucial to the economy that governments don't want them to fail. So they're often bailed out by governments to avoid the collapse of the financial system. This can mean that bankers feel they can take some undue risk in order to make the profits that are demanded of them. Okay, and that's the problem. How do we deal with the problem of moral hazard? So insurers will deal with moral hazard by having high excess for risky people, so that disincentivizes the careless. However, problem with this is that different income groups are affected differently. If you're a high income earner, that high excess might not disincentivize your carelessness, so that can be a problem, might not actually work. And the way governments deal with the banks is that they put regulations in place. They lay out exactly what they are and aren't allowed to do, so that they're not taking these huge risks which threaten the stability of the financial system. Okay, that is section 2.10 of the course. Thank you.